Some breaking news from FoxNews.com. The U.S. Attorney for Connecticut, John Durham, is going full throttle with his review into the way the investigation into the Russia collusion hoax got started. Additional top prosecutors are involved in looking at different components of the original probe, sources to Fox News have said. Documents, of course, as you know, unsealed by the Justice Department, revealed that agents discussed their motivations for interviewing General Michael Flynn in the Russia probe, questioning whether they wanted to, quote, get him to lie so he'd be fired or prosecuted, or get him to admit wrongdoing. In the interview, incidentally, General Flynn, who had been the national security advisor for the president, didn't admit, at the beginning of the term, of Trump's term, Flynn did not admit wrongdoing, instead was accused of lying about his contacts with this then Russian ambassador. Meanwhile, a source said that the pattern of conduct Durham is investigating includes misrepresentations made to the FISA court to obtain warrants to surveil the Trump campaign. The president, incidentally, on Friday on Fox and Friends was a little bit ominous. A warning. He said it was very dangerous. It was a very dangerous situation what they did, the president said. These are dirty politicians and dirty cops and some horrible people, and hopefully they're going to pay a big price in the not too distant future. Durham's probe is said, according to multiple sources familiar with the investigation, the probe is expected to wrap up by the end of the summer. You know, it's really interesting. You know, I saw a great column by Larry O'Connor at Town Hall, The Reckoning. Column was all about how everything really began with President Obama. I'm going to share some of this column with you because it's really powerful. But this whole thing of politicizing the way the Justice Department was politicized by the Obama administration. Of course, now what they're guilty of, they accuse Trump of doing. They're going berserk over the Justice Department dropping the case against General Mike Flynn. And there was a failure by both Democrats and Republicans to push back against the FBI and this Russian collusion nonsense. Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida pointed this out Friday night. It was a very awkward segment only because former Congressman Trey Gowdy had been on with Sean Hannity earlier in the program. And you know, a lot of Americans are wondering, what about the Trey Gowdys and the Lindsey Grahams and the staunch Republicans and supporters of constitutional liberties? Where were they during all this? Well, Matt Gaetz went there in a big way. Listen to what he said on Fox News Channel with Sean Hannity Friday night. Again, remember, this was after Trey Gowdy was in an earlier segment. He was no longer on the show, but Congressman Gaetz was part of a panel. What clip number is this, Derek? So we have the right clip here. I think it's 12, I think. But this was pretty powerful. This was this is cut 12. Congressman Gaetz going right at the question of why Republicans like Trey Gowdy let this thing unfold the way it did.
I'm glad you went through Trey Gowdy's exquisite questions in 2017 to these corrupt officials. I guess my question, Sean, would be, why was it then in late May of 2018 that Trey Gowdy went on Martha McCallum's show and said that the FBI did exactly what all of our fellow Americans would have wanted them to do, and that it had nothing to do with Donald Trump? Both of those things have now been proven to be not true, and it seems that Gowdy's brilliant lawyering back in 2017 that we're only able to see now proves those two statements untrue. The number one question I get asked from Americans is why no one has gone to jail and been held accountable. Unfortunately, when Nunes and Meadows and Jordan and I wanted subpoena power, it was Paul Ryan and Trey Gowdy that wouldn't give us that subpoena power. Democrats sent out hundreds of subpoenas when we had control and could have run this to ground in 2017. We didn't send out a single subpoena, not one, and that's a failure of our Republican leadership.
Wow. And you know what's even more stinging about Congressman Gaetz' remarks on Fox News on one of the the primetime, highest rated, most popular shows on their network. He calls out Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan's on the board now of Fox News Channel. Paul Ryan is one of the members of the board of directors for Fox News. So that I don't know. You'll ever see Matt Gaetz on Fox News again? I don't know. Who knows what goes on behind the scenes with some of those machinations? But wow. And it seems to be a relevant question. Larry O'Connor writes a piece at Town Hall talking about a reckoning. He defines it at the beginning of the column: the avenging or punishing of past mistakes or misdeeds. And he talks about a reckoning that ought to occur because, and this is so important. He writes, President Barack Obama is at the center of all of this, all of it. The Justice Department's decision to drop the case against Flynn, the nefarious actions of the Comey FBI and the Lynch Justice Department, the duplicity and corruption of the Mueller investigators by using the FBI's dirty work to threaten Michael Flynn's family and basically coerce a false guilty plea from him. And the major news item of the day, the voluminous House Intel testimony that was released thanks to the Herculean efforts of Richard Grinnell, the acting ODNI. And Larry O'Connor asks, do we explain how Representative Adam Schiff has been fully exposed as the lying, defamatory charlatan that he truly is, as the testimony proves that he never saw the direct evidence proving Trump-Russia collusion as he has claimed repeatedly? Larry says if one is to take the proverbial 35,000-foot view of all of these stories and focuses one's eyes, one image clearly appears. President Barack Obama is at the center of all of this. Indeed, Obama oversaw it all from the start. The investigation of Flynn, the surveillance of Carter Page and George Papadopoulos, the Steele dossier infection of the FISA courts, the kangaroo court hearings, the special counsel investigation built on known fictions. None of it happens, he says, without Obama. It's a fascinating deep dive into going back and looking at this corruption. Welcome into a Monday edition of the Mike Gallagher Show. We've got to bring you the latest on, of course, what's happening nationally with coronavirus. The pandemic continues. Some good news out of Georgia in terms of the numbers there, at least as of Saturday. The president tweeted out good news happening in many places around the country as states cautiously try to open. I hope you join us. Our number is 800-655-MIKE. I also want to bring you the latest on this awful case out of Georgia, the shooting death of a young man out jogging, apparently, by two men who wanted to make some kind of a citizen's arrest